26 hours to go for football's marquee event to kick in. 2022 FIFA World Cup for the first time. It is a World Cup of firsts. When was the last time you saw a World Cup being held in November, December? Never. When was the last time a FIFA World Cup was held in Asia? You would have all been babies at that time.
It was my first ever World Cup that I saw, 2002.
20 years ago in Japan, South Korea. Second time in Asia, or the first time in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Imagine now this would be peak club time competition. But such is the nature of the beast that FIFA World Cup 2022 is now going to be held in November, December. Ironically, due to weather reasons. This edition of the Dugout is devoted to building up to the FIFA World Cup. A World Cup which, it has been a breeze. 4 years ago in Kazan, it was in Kazan, right, or Moscow? Luzhinsky Stadium. France became the two-time World Cup champions by beating Croatia 4-2. And since then, the world has changed. Coronavirus waves, 2020, 2021. Unsure of whether the World Cup would take place in Qatar. Finally, after all this thing, we finally have the World Cup. But this has been the most controversial FIFA World Cup 2022 build-up that I have ever seen in my life. There were past instances which Shane will highlight. But I will begin this Dugout by a simple meme. 2018 Russia, 2022 Qatar. One of the fans just asked, why don't you shift the 2026 World Cup from USA, Mexico and Canada to North Korea? That is the amount of controversies that have plagued Qatar. And honestly, even before a ball has been kicked on the pitch, it has made more bad news and more negativity than any of the previous World Cup editions that I can remember. Even 2018 included. Shane?
Yeah. So and as you mentioned, I've actually done a video on this. You can find it on our channel. It talks about sports washing and FIFA's unfortunate reality when it comes to, being part of it. Now, and the thing is that, you think that maybe it's a one-off here or there, but the truth be told, 2018, considering where we are now with the Russia-Ukraine crisis and the fact that at that point, even when they were awarded the World Cup, you had the annexation of Crimea take place, which actually was the catalyst for the current conflict. You had that happen. So 2018 was in many ways a sports washing event and a successful one at that, because no one really questioned too much happening after the point. People were frankly okay with Putin walking out with the World Cup as if, he hadn't been a ruthless dictator in charge of Russia by hook or crook for many, many years. That being said, as I said, you're talking about controversies. There have been other ones which you could say were just as bad, if not worse. If you go back in history, 1934, second ever World Cup held. It was held in fascist Italy, where there was a lot of allegations that, the fascist regime in power at the time actually did a lot to ensure that Italy would get some favorable decisions from the referees. And again, if you're familiar with Italian football, you know that that's a tale as old as time when it comes to their match fixing, referee issues, happens a lot. 1978, when the World Cup was held in Argentina, you had a brutal military rule that had come in, I think maybe 2 years prior. And even then, there was a lot of controversy about the World Cup. That it was chosen to be held in Argentina, where military rule was bad, and secondly, at that point, dissidents of the regime, around more than 30,000 of them just disappeared. There's no record of where they went. One story suggests that a lot of them were packed into planes, taken up high above the sky, and then chucked into the sea. So a lot of brutality there. 2018, again, as I mentioned, in hindsight, I don't think we need to talk about that too much. And now 2022, where you have so much controversy about, the migrant workers issues, which is massive, because again, a lot of those are undocumented. We don't know the actual numbers.
The reports say that 6,500
and that's just reports. I am sure it is more than that, because they called a lot of people over from countries, what we would refer to as developing or third world nations, and a lot of them died due to the sheer brutal conditions, work conditions that they were subjected to. And there's no record. In fact, if you look at the public record, most of them died of natural causes, supposedly. So not the greatest of time and not the greatest of backdrops. And that's just one controversy, by the way. We're not even talking about, the extremely strict laws that actually would subject people to public lashings. And then, of course, there's the very conservative sort of outlook towards the LGBTQIA plus community. And well, then recently there was the alcohol ban, which actually, not just irritated a lot of people, but also actually got the goat of some of FIFA's sponsors.
Absolutely, because look, FIFA had awarded the bid to Qatar in 2010 with the promise. The promise was that you will respect all of FIFA's sponsors. But here in Qatar, that principle has been already thrown into the dustbin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the blanket ban that they've had on alcohol.
Yeah, and to be fair, I have to mention this also, it's not like a blanket ban. There will be alcohol served in the very high level passes.
Special zones.
Yes, but 99% of the fans won't be accessing those special zones.
Because one, it will be expensive, and second, it will be very limited.
Exactly. There's a limited number of seats of those that go.
There is a dress code also. You have to respect the dress code of the nation that you are in, which throws many of the people who are coming from all over the world, it throws them into a dizzy.
It puts them in an uncomfortable position for sure. There's no two ways about that. And okay, look, I understand the debate and I understand the idea that, look, laws of the land, you respect the laws of the land, I get that. But, I mean, FIFA's very meek acceptance of everything going on as a business as usual it's actually nothing new. It's become worse in recent times because you've had not one but two arguably sports washing cups on the trot, and it's a shame because really one of the reasons why sport or this sport exploded into the limelight was because of the joy it brought people. Remember, until Yao Havelange came into the throes of power at FIFA were essentially they were like an organization that was run by a few buddies.
Yes.
It was very amateurish the way they were run. In fact, even till now, they don't like have a proper office. The Zurich office was like one building which was just kind of there in the middle of the downtown area. No one really this thing. But once Havelange came in, the first World Cup held under him was the 78 one. So since that time and the ever-growing commercialization, and look, I get it. If you're the caretakers of the game, you need to be making money, but at what cost? You can't just say that yes, sport is meant to unite, but you're holding it in a place that is actually dividing a lot of people.
The beautiful game is no longer beautiful if you have to look at it when it comes to Qatar, and this is my major controversy issue by which I argue that you cannot host the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Okay, when is the World Cup traditionally been held?
It's always been a summer thing.
June, July.
Yeah.
June, July in Qatar, where temperatures can go up to 50 to 55 degrees. It is anyway not going to be good for the players nor for the fans. Second, you are playing the FIFA World Cup in November, December at a time when your entire club competition system has been thrown awry.
Yeah, I think there are a few notable exceptions, but like the notable exceptions would be places like, say, Norway, where November, December types you don't normally play because the cold is too much. So there'll be a different start to the year. But generally speaking, across the board, it's always been a summer to summer sport. You stop playing during the extreme hot times. And in fact, you're talking about temperatures. When the first ever World Cup that was held outside of either Latin America or Europe was held, it was held in Mexico. And back then too, a lot of players complained saying, man, the heat is too much.
Yes.
So you have to accommodate for these things. But the real question is then, why did you not make a similar accommodation for Mexico? Why then did you not make a similar accommodation for, say, South Africa? Also a place where, the temperatures kind of go high. And don't forget, South Africa is based in the African peninsula.
No, but they played in June, July. It was winter for them there.
Oh, yeah, that's also true. My bad.
Yes.
Either which way, the point is those concessions can and will be made in such a thing. And, you've made these concessions because, quite frankly, you're in a state that, quite frankly, guarantees FIFA one thing and one thing only.
That's
lots
the
of money.
That is the main reason. See, climate-wise, even now, December, it's not a very pleasant.
A lot of the stadiums are going to be having fitted in air conditioning to bring down the temperatures for the players because it's not easy to play. Don't forget, it's not just about the temperature, it's about the fact that desert state, the dry heat is what will get to you.
Yep.
That dryness of heat is what will be sapping a lot of players. And don't forget that normally speaking, players will have a few, a week or two, three maybe, to kind of detox from a season. Here they're flying smack dab in the middle of a season. And no, on one hand, it's great because they're in prime fitness, but it's really not ideal, especially if you look at the number of injuries that have happened to players before the World Cup.
Yes.
You can practically make an 11 of the top players will be missing this tournament.
Yep. If I can recollect, the one on November 21st, Senegal are playing.
Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane not playing because he's not fit.
And there's a lot of players. I think France are missing N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, two players who are absolutely key to them making it to the... And to be fair, yeah, both of them have had the injury issues. You can't entirely blame it on the scheduling, but not ideal. Not ideal for sure.
So that is why, weather-wise, moral-wise, if you want to have it from the enjoyment point of view, already Qatar is an unprecedented disaster.
It doesn't feel like normally, when a World Cup is coming, okay, the club season's over.
Forget about that. You would normally have that buzz, 2-3 months. It's World Cup time.
And that's the thing.
That's missing.
And you also know why I'm talking about the club thing is because normally speaking, once a big tournament like that is over, you take some time away from the sport, and then before you realize it, it's time for the club season to start. Here, December, I think 20th is the final.
December 18th is the final.
And then from like Boxing Day time, it's business as usual. It's back to the clubs, and it's like, oh my God, I feel for the players. Because that's a brutal schedule. There's no two ways about it. It's a horribly brutal schedule.
So, stadiums built on reclaimed land.
And don't forget, they spent like a fortune on some of those stadiums.
Okay, I have a video will be up wherein I made the costs of the FIFA World Cup. Brazil was 11.5 USD billion. Russia was 14 billion. Guess how much is the rate for Qatar? 220 billion.
Because the infrastructure to play the sport or to, actually organize a tournament of this scale just doesn't exist. They've had to start from literally scratch.
Stadiums alone is 6 billion USD.
And don't forget, of the 8 stadiums where they're going to be playing, only 2 existed beforehand.
Yes.
6 have been built from the ground up.
Yep. Built on reclaimed land, but on the toil and of the blood of a lot of migrant workers.
Exactly.
Then the moral laws, which are very, very, very stringent. And
very harshly policed.
Harsh. It is a police state. Let us understand that. Most of the Middle Eastern states like Qatar, like Saudi Arabia, they're all in essential police states. So that is why the buzz around, if it was Brazil, you would have a carnival-like atmosphere.
If it were same true if it were in anywhere in South America, a European nation. In fact, if I look at it, the buzz around 2002, the South Korea and Japan World Cup was immense.
Yes.
The buzz around 2010 South Africa was immense. Despite the fact that that World Cup also had its problems because there was bribery involved in actually getting the World Cup to the Bafana to begin with. Also kind of telling that they never really qualified for a World Cup after that. They hadn't qualified before that, haven't since. So that tells you its own problems. But if you're picking Africa, and one of the first countries you go to is South Africa, I understand the symbolism behind it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. But Qatar, and look, I know a lot of you can tell me that Qatar have had a lot of success in the AFC Asian Championships. That would be correct. They are actually on pure sporting merit. It's a great place to hold a World Cup. But when you look at the number of problems we've already encountered, the tournament hasn't started now. There's going to be more.
Yep. And remember, the highest capacity stadium in the world is actually the People's Stadium in Pyongyang. So, if FIFA wants to ensure that every kind of controversy is whitewashed, hold it in 2026 or 2030 there. Yeah. There'll be no problems. But honestly, the buzz around Qatar this time is missing because of all the stringent police state measures that are in place. But unfortunately or fortunately, the show has to go on.
And to be fair, if you're one of those people who says, look, let's leave the politics out of it, there's a lot of subplots in just the sport, including perhaps what I think, and which a lot of y'all would agree with me, would be the biggest one. And that is involving these two men, Messrs. Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
One has already announced that this will be his last World Cup. It's this legend. The other, many will say that this is his final World Cup.
He may not need to announce it.
Yes. Both of their careers have been very, very similar in a lot of ways. Goal scoring phenomenon. One, a sublime genius, another sublime genius, a machine. Both starved of international success, but Ronaldo got it first in 2016 with the Euro. Messi finally achieved salvation with the Copa America win in 2021 against Brazil. But what a privilege it has been for football fans and for any sporting individuals. Like you've seen two of the greatest in this same generation. We have had Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. We are blessed with that. We had Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps in one generation. these two have taken football to another level.
Yeah, it's one thing you see one player who can be that freakish, that subhuman. We have two. Should be thankful.
Yep. And Messi is third in the all-time list when it comes to goal scoring. Ronaldo is already on top, 17 goals if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's international.
International goals. So, oh man, I mean, football and world sport will definitely be poorer without these two. I mean,
absolutely. I think we've gotten so used to their genius that the world will just feel like a weirder place once.
Yep. And the worst part is, what will break the internet? Can it really happen? Portugal versus Argentina, a final, Messi and Ronaldo for one.
And to be fair, the way the group stages are drawn up, if all of them win, like if they both qualify out of their group, they're drawn up on different ends, win all the knockouts, it's actually possible that you could get a Messi versus Ronaldo final in the World Cup.
Wow.
That would absolutely, as he says, smash the internet. It would in many ways actually forever even end the GOAT debate. Because whoever gets that World Cup, that's it. That's it. Doesn't matter what you feel about them.
The only thing missing in these two legends' CV is a World Cup win.
But, that's the thing. Will it happen? It's one thing we fantasize, but both teams have their own share of problems. Although, if you ask me, and this is no bias, I'm an England fan in case any of you are wondering, long suffering, not looking forward to the World Cup that much. But if you're looking at both of these teams from a neutral perspective, Argentina have the edge. Because they've been in very good form internationally. Granted, they haven't got to play European nations, yada yada, I get it. But 2021 Copa America champions, 2022 Finalissima champions, they absolutely gave Italy a thrashing. They took their class, whatever.
With this man pulling
the strings once again.
Brilliant role.
Wonderful.
The assists that he was giving was
the way he was actually maneuvering the Italian defense, they had no answers for.
And had it not been for some extraordinary goalkeeping by Donnarumma, Italy could have lost 6-0 or 7-0.
It was a much bigger match. It could have been a much bigger, goal line difference. And that's the thing when it comes to Argentina. Normally speaking, it was always about, get Messi in the squad, then we'll figure everyone else out. And that is why they've actually had such a mixed time ever since 2010, when Messi really rose to the forefront of, world football. 2006, he was there, but again, at that point, Ronaldo was the bigger star because he was already established at United. Messi was just finding his feet at Barca. But this time around, they have a fully complete squad. And that is rare. I don't even recall them happening for Argentina in 2014. Because they made it to the final based on some good luck and based on Messi kicking and screaming to the final, honestly. Because Germany knew they nullify Messi, the cup is theirs, which is what happened. And many thanks to Gonzalo Higuain, lovely man. But man, you could have actually scored one of those chances anyway. But with Portugal and Ronaldo, it's a very weird time. For one, I think his recent comments, many of them, have kind of put that air about it's all about me. More importantly, Portugal have been struggling for form in recent times due to they find themselves in a conflict of identities. Remember, 2016, that Euro they won it off the basis of some very conservative football. Problem being now is they have a lot of attacking options. Back then it was pretty much centered around Ronaldo and that's it. Now though you have the likes of Bernardo Silva, João Felix, Bruno Fernandes. You'd expect them to be playing more attacking, more expansive, but their coach is still kind of wedded to that old style of game. So they are really, I saw this was true in the Euros. They haven't changed coaches, so it's probably going to be true in the World Cup too, but let's see. Because again, they do have the talent, no two ways about it, but if you're picking one side or the other at this point, Argentina look more settled. That's something that was even evidenced by a recent, a simulation of sorts, which has been getting the last 3 World Cups right. They said Argentina are winning it.
Wow. I mean, if it happens, these two legends have achieved everything that needs to be in club football. UEFA Champions League, you may want league titles with your respective clubs.
FIFA Club World Cup, everything.
Only this. And if either of the two, if Messi wins the World Cup, the GOAT debate is sealed.
And if Ronaldo wins it, the GOAT debate is also sealed.
Yes. Because a World Cup win in football is a lot higher.
Yeah, it's a much tougher thing. I mean, it's telling that only one player has won 3, Pele. Yes. Beyond that, you've had a few that won 2. But if you go through the list of players who have that World Cup winners medal, about 80% of them have only won 1 because it's not an easy thing to win. And you need your entire team pulling together in the same direction for it to happen. That is why it's very, very tough. Can it happen? I mean, I think it could.
Yeah.
But again, as I keep saying, Messi's Argentina at this point look a better settled side.
Better side, and yeah, but we still will have to wrap our heads around that. These two guys.
It might just be the last World Cup.
At the international stage for one final time.
One last dance with the two of them.
Wow, I mean, it seems as if our childhood will just go away with these two exiting the grand stage. That'll be a sad day. I mean, honestly,
Yeah, it will.
if you're a Messi fan, if you're a Ronaldo fan,
Doesn't matter. This is the end of an era.
you lost two of the most unique players that has
Two generation-defining players.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been the feeling in Brazil when Pele retired.
Yeah.
When Maradona left the world stage, perhaps that was how Argentina felt.
Yeah.
But Messi carrying that torch ahead, let's see what happens.
And now, let's see, beyond just these two, there's a lot of teams who would be chomping at the bits. And I think this team,
The Seleção, Brazil.
man alive, they have some serious talent.
The
right now.
only team in the history of the World Cup to qualify for every single edition.
Like to draw a Formula One reference here, if this was Formula One, if the FIFA World Cup was Formula One, Brazil would be Ferrari.
Wow.
Every single edition.
Every single edition. And 5-time champions, the original gold standard when it has to come to football, produced generational magicians as the great man himself, Pele. I mean, no one knows his real full name. I mean, it takes,
No, I do. It's in Arantes do Nascimento.
That was Nascimento, but Pele, that 4 letters.
That 4-letter word captivated the world. Arguably football's first global star, Pele.
The first GOAT.
Yeah.
Indeed, if you have to look, and even in this current team, this man
Neymar Jr.
holds the key for Brazil. Lots was expected from him in 2014 and 2018, but 14, remember, he had that back injury in the game against Colombia, if I'm not mistaken, missed the semi-final. Forza Neymar was there everywhere, and unfortunately, Brazil suffered the ultimate nightmare of 1-7 at the Mineirazo. At that point, 2018, very, very middling campaign for them, and they lost 2-0 to a very inspired Belgian outfit in the quarterfinals. But 2022, very much like Argentina, a team high on international form, good on form.
In fact, I would say they are a lot more complete a side than Argentina because their defense is very sorted. Argentina's is good but not great. Brazil, on the other hand, have a solid defense, solid midfield, and they have so many forward options that Vinicius Jr., a Champions League winner as of last season, is going to be on the bench.
Yep. Because of this individual.
Because of Neymar. Because they play the same position.
And they also have one of the best keepers currently in the world.
In Alisson.
Alisson. I mean, Alisson, he plays for Liverpool.
Liverpool, yes.
And Liverpool's success for most of the last couple of years has been relied on Alisson's brilliant keeping.
And don't forget, Alisson is such a good goalkeeper that in the national team, he keeps out Edison, who himself is the first choice goalkeeper for Manchester City.
Yep. So for defense and goalkeeping, and if you look at midfield,
even the attack,
Brazil are sorted on a lot of fronts.
Their Sid's favorite team, by the way, you can see it by the fact that he's wearing yellow.
People ask me, why is my fascination for yellow? And they say with Chennai Super Kings, no.
First Australia, then Brazil.
First Australia, then Brazil. And when I saw in color what Pele did,
man,
that was the period I said, yes, there's something very magical about the color yellow.
It's a fun story, by the way, about the color yellow and why it actually came into existence for the Brazilian team.
Yes.
In 1950, when they lost in that final against Uruguay, the original disaster, the Maracanazo, at that point, their color, their jersey scheme was white, blue and green. Okay,
but green was the Brazil flag.
Brazil flag, and of course the blue is also there on the Brazil flag.
The globe, yes.
But at that point, they realized that, look, and by the way, Brazils are notoriously superstitious, Brazilian people.
Yes.
They do really believe in any sort of thing which brings good or bad luck. And at that point, what does it was, look, the color white is the color of a certain saint. So it's actually of a certain saint that is not considered to bring good luck. So it's unlucky. So they changed the color of their jersey after 1950 and brought in the iconic yellow. And so actually, if they had won in 1950, they wouldn't have changed their colors.
Absolutely.
See, no mind.
So that is the reason why my love for the yellow comes from the Australian 92, but before that, it was Pele's exploits.
It comes from the Kangaroos, Seleção, and then later Thala.
No, that is very secondary.
That's very late.
Very late. But Pele, it was very hard for you to not love the guy and his exploits. And 99% of the people, why they love Brazil, is because of the nostalgia that Pele left them.
Exactly.
And because of that, look, Pele's rise, right from the favelas of Sao Paulo, where he worked as a tea vendor, he used to serve tea.
He did a lot of odd jobs.
He did a lot of odd jobs. And looking at the way, 17-year-old, by the way, he still remains the youngest to score in the FIFA World Cup final.
Correct. He still remains the youngest goal scorer in the history of the FIFA World Cup and the only man to have won it thrice.
Yep.
It's undoubted GOAT in terms of World Cup.
And because of Pele's exploits, look where Brazil are. That's how you define an impact of a player.
Absolutely.
And that is how Pele is. And Brazil still will be looking, look, it's been 20 years since they last won the World Cup.
Yeah, they never made a final after that either.
Yes. 2006, they were undone by the brilliance of Zinedine Zidane in
Lost
the quarterfinals.
2010, underwhelming.
Very underwhelming.
2014 at
Less
home,
said about it,
less
the
said the
better.
better. Even last year, didn't really look like the best of sides. This time around on the Tite, they look like a very solid bunch.
Yes.
Very, very solid bunch. So I think if you're picking Brazil as one of your favorites, which to be fair, a lot of people from India do, couldn't have probably a better choice.
But we all say it could be Brazil, but it could be Cristiano Ronaldo versus Messi one last time. But what about a Brazil versus Argentina final?
That would be nuts. Because I
That
don't
would
think,
be off the roof.
yeah, and it's never actually happened since what, the 90s?
1990
There we go.
World Cup.
Yeah.
That was the last time Brazil and Argentina faced off in the World Cup.
I mean, it could have happened in 2014, but then they got knocked out in the semis.
But in the Copa America of 2021, it was very, very intense. Messi, remember playing with a bloodied ankle?
And then he, of course,
beating Brazil in the Maracana.
exactly.
Man, that would be the Brazil-Argentina rivalry, if I have to look at it, is the rivalry.
Yeah, when it comes to South American football.
Even global football.
Sure.
I mean, European football is, yes, they have certain rivalries, but somewhere that tension, that allure that is there for a Brazil versus
very
Argentina.
few games in Europe inspire that.
Brazil-Argentina is a clash of civilizations, if you look at it. One Portuguese, one Spanish, the other forever. Okay, we are the greatest. We had Maradona. No, but we have Pele.
And we have 5 World Cups.
5 World Cups. And Brazil have won everything that needs to be in the sport. Why not an epic rivalry 32 years later and 20 years later? Brazil in the final of a World Cup and meeting Argentina. Messi versus Neymar. Teammates at PSG.
Teammates at PSG, been teammates at Barca, best of friends in real life. But man, there'll be a lot of countries would be wanting to spoil that party. One of them, of course, being Le Bleu, the French national team. They too would wanting.
But this is the Albiceleste we're talking about. This is the Albiceleste.
Hold on, I think we're having a.
Wait.
No. Oh, so I got the order wrong.
Yes, the order.
Yeah.
Le Bleu.
Anyway, Le Bleu can't actually go beyond talking about the defending champions, but they're going to be having to undo a curse that stretches back to the 1960s.
Yes.
The champions curse.
Yes, because not since 1962 has there been a defending champion in the FIFA World Cup.
It's just never happened. And to be fair, there have been teams who've come close, because if I cast my mind back, after 62, 66, Brazil didn't make it, no, 70.
70, they won it?
No, but another country, for instance, Netherlands, made it to the final in 74, made it to the final in 78, lost both. Yes. They are the eternal bridesmaids of the FIFA World Cup, by the way.
You know, South Africa get their inspiration from them.
Oh, no, you could argue New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
Always in the semis, finals, then something happens. Same with Netherlands, but other teams who came close.
Even Brazil came close, 94
Brazil
they
came
won.
94, 98, 2002. If they had won 98, they would have done another triple, which is unheralded. But other teams who came close, Argentina, 86 in the final, 90 lost in the final, runners up. So it does happen.
78 won, 82 I think they didn't
82 they didn't do much. They didn't make it out of the group stages. 86 they won.
Yes.
So, but even then, and unfortunately in recent times, if you look at the last 3 editions of the World Cup, the defending champions have got knocked out in the first round.
And for France, it's a nightmare, because when they won 1998, in 2002, when
they are the ones arguably who started that curse, they got knocked out in the first round, lost to Senegal.
Without even scoring a goal.
Exactly.
They are the only defending champions in history to be knocked out in the first round without even scoring a goal.
And mind you, that 2002 team was there were no average Joe team. You had Henry and Zidane and all
But
of those
Zidane was
stars.
plagued by injury, and that's
Exactly.
why he couldn't make it. And that loss to Senegal really deflated them.
Absolutely undid them. And even this time around, they're going in with a few injuries, as I mentioned before. No Paul Pogba, more importantly, no N'Golo Kante. Kante not being there, that man is a heartbeat of any midfield he plays for. They're not going to be able to replace him. It's a sad reality.
Yep.
And in international football, you needed a player like that. So I do expect France to struggle. If they do well, I'd be pleasantly surprised.
But then you have to rely your hopes on this particular individual.
Kylian Mbappe and the individual next to him, this year's Ballon d'Or winner, Karim Benzema.
Yep, Karim Benzema, who would have thought? In an era which was dominated by Messi, Ronaldo, you
Suarez and
Lewandowski, you had Karim Benzema winning the Ballon d'Or winner.
And full credit to him, he absolutely deserved it. And he waited his turn to be the main man at Real for years because he was always under the shadow of a certain Cristiano. So, but even then, full credit to him. He's done well, and he would be expected. Don't forget, he of all people has a point to prove. He wasn't part of the squad in 2018 due to disciplinary reasons. Wasn't included. Then actually he made very disparaging remarks about Olivier Giroud. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just go ahead and Google Karim Benzema F1 go-karting. You'll understand what it is I mean.
Absolutely. So France, we have not picked them as one of the favourites because of the Champions curse.
And not just that, they're plagued by injuries. They're plagued by injuries. It's a bad time. And their form in recent times also hasn't been great. They didn't really light the world on fire in the Euros.
The Euros also, even the Nations League, they haven't had a good build-up.
Exactly. So they've not really been in great form. Concerning times for sure if you're, Didier Deschamps or, a French national team supporter. Because again, and if last 3 years an indication, 2006 champions, Italy out in the first round 2010. 2010 champions Spain out in the first round 2014. 2014 champions Germany out in the first round 2018. Finishing bottom of their group.
Lost to Mexico.
They lost to South Korea in the
2-0.
end.
But remember, their campaign was kept alive thanks to a 95th minute goal by Toni Kroos against Sweden. Had that been a draw, Germany were eliminated.
They were out. They were very much out.
That was actually a very tricky group. And here, it will be very interesting to see
how France can fare. Definitely it won't be easy for them. But
France are lined up with Denmark, Australia and Tunisia.
And to be fair, Denmark are a team that have become probably one of the more underrated sides in Europe in recent memory.
Yes.
And don't forget, they'll have Eriksen back this time around.
Yep. You all know the story of Eriksen and the trauma that happened in the Euro. Very, very nervous times, but now Denmark look rejuvenated around him.
Absolutely.
But from one blue
to the other.
Let's go to...
Not this blue.
Argentina.
I think Argentina are one of those darling sides when you talk about teams. Because again, if you look at just India itself, you will be, of course, Messi, but before that, Maradona captured,
El Diego
captured the imagination of fans around the world in a way that only Pele did. And to be fair to Maradona, he had a different pull. You know why? Because he was a flawed genius. He was relatable. Yes, he was someone who could do, crazy things on the pitch week in, week out. But he was also that person who struggled with addiction and had to sweat off his drugs in the few days before. And by the way, there's this lovely documentary on Maradona. You know which one it is. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend. You'll understand what exactly I mean. And the thing with him was, he pulled that country almost by sheer force of will. And to be fair, 86 was a strong side. But Maradona, the way he carried that team was something else. And that's what made him
36 years later, this man is doing the same.
Leo Messi, to be fair, has carried their hopes ever since 2010.
But now, there is a different Argentina in this series. Because look, he was scarred by the losses in 15 and 16 in the Copa America to Chile.
14-2 in the final, the World Cup final.
Because
that's a defining image of our generation when he just walked past the trophy and received his runners-up medal and the golden ball. Didn't matter. He needed that trophy.
Yes. That was the worst thing. imagine. Providence could have been achieved. Argentina winning the World Cup in their nemesis' backyard. That would have been...
And also ending the GOAT debate about 8 years prior.
8 years prior. We wouldn't have had a GOAT debate. There was only one GOAT in world football. And that would have been Lionel Messi.
Leo GOAT Messi.
But again, Messi is coming now of a Copa America win.
And he's coming off a season, mind you, and I have done a video on this, guys can check it out, talking about the contrasting forms that he and Ronaldo have had this year.
Yes.
Ronaldo's barely gotten game time. He's been struggling for form when he did. Messi, on the other hand, has been playing close to the exuberant best that he was showing at Barca. He's actually dovetailing well with his teammates. He himself is looking sharper. And for Argentina, he's been sublime. We know for a fact. Just go and watch those Finalissima highlights. He was amazing. Running the game as if it was no one's business.
And remember, Italy have a dark defense. To break that defense into shreds,
exactly,
needed a magician. And this guy
but I think we've discussed Argentina enough, even when we're talking about Messi and Ronaldo. Oh boy, is it coming home?
It's going to Rome, but there is no Rome anymore.
But there's no Rome here. The defending European champions aren't in the World Cup.
Yes.
What nonsense.
Oh man, England,
I think one of those teams who, whether you hate them, love them, whatever, they get a reaction out of everyone.
Yep.
There's a morbid sense in either watching them fail, or there's some sort of a weird schadenfreude or joy in watching them succeed. Because they will somehow end up A, shooting themselves in the foot, or B, kind of underachieving, overachieving, whatever you want to put it.
Simple mantra for all the teams: if you want to beat England, take it to penalty shootouts.
But to be fair, in recent times, they've overcome that jinx. Aside from even the Euro, they did win a shootout in 2018. First ever shootout. I remember watching that match, and I was at home at night, and I'm like, it's gone to a shootout. Great, lost. They won it, and I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? Could it be? Is it coming home?
It was all thanks to this individual,
Harry Kane, who by the way is coming. But that's the thing. There's biggest concerns over a lot of the forwards' form this year. Like if you look at the main choice forwards, besides Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling has been hit or miss so far this year. Harry Kane is fatigued by the admission of his own club manager. And England have been coming off a disastrous year. I mean, Euro 2020 final was like a peak, because since then they've had poor form in the Nations League, where remember they actually had a campaign so bad they got relegated to the second tier of the Nations League. It's that bad. And there are a lot of question marks over whether Southgate, like his time is up. So I think regardless of what happens, whether England even win the World Cup, I think he's done. I think he'll leave of his own accord if nothing else.
Wow. But England, I think this is Harry Maguire, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, that's Mason Mount.
Mason Mount. Okay.
Harry Maguire is not in this picture.
He's not in this. But is he in the team?
Yeah, he's in the team, but our Manchester United supporting producer ensured he's not there anywhere. He's like, I don't get to see his picture for the club. Don't want to see it in the country time either. Poor old slabhead.
Yes. Oh boy. And then we have,
I think Belgium. Belgium are one of those teams who have underwhelmed.
Sublime on talent, but underwhelmed.
They've really underwhelmed with the world stage, because they've had a golden generation for about as long as I can remember now.
Yep.
The golden generation's sheen is also wearing off, but they're still a golden generation.
Yes.
And I mean, if you want a best idea of how this generation has been typified, it's that Eden Hazard is their captain, and I'm a Chelsea fan. You guys know how much it pains me to say that the guy is really just nowhere anymore. Ever since he's moved to Real Madrid, he's struggled with injuries, fitness issues, you name it. And he's just a shadow. This is not the guy who I remember. The man who I remember at Chelsea would single-handedly change games. He'd take the game by the scruff of its neck and then just be like, no, I'm winning this game. He can't do that anymore. But he's still their captain. And in fact, for me, you're talking about their key players. There are two players who come to mind.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes. Kevin De Bruyne and Thibaut Courtois.
Not Lukaku.
Well, Lukaku, I have my own.
Well, Romelu Lukaku was in fine form during the league stages of the Euro.
Yeah, he was, and he's been in decent form even for the Serie A in Serie A this year for Inter. But even there, he's generally been outshone by Lautaro and
Martinez.
And to be fair, again, he could very well be. He could prove me wrong, but he's the kind of striker who, if you limit his supply, can't really do much. Of course, in this case, the supply is De Bruyne, so who really knows? But De Bruyne will really be key to that side. They need his creativity, his drive. Otherwise, this team aren't doing anything. And again, it pains me to say it, because a lot of players here who I've really enjoyed watching.
Yep.
But again, this is, I think, their last shot at glory.
Yes.
It's their last shot at it.
Yep. So we have discussed Le Bleu, but
did we miss any team? No, we didn't.
So
I think these are our favorites. If you're talking about, these are the teams who I think most people will have their eyes on. Don't forget, Germany for me, always dark horses. Them in Spain. In fact, Germany, why I say is because they have Hansi Flick as a manager, who's actually, what he did at Bayern, he's kind of replicating that for the German team, and obviously it's not reflective in silverware yet, but he's actually got them playing a good style of football. He has a good forwards at his disposal, very, very good midfield too, and good defense.
Hansi Flick, 8-2, 7-0 score lines in the Champions League of 2020. That crazy year.
And Spain, by the way, another one of Sid's favorite teams, and for me also a dark horse, because again, under Luis Enrique, they've been pretty clinical. Obviously, they're not playing the kind of football that you'd expect from them, but they are a good side, and they do have some serious talent, the likes of Gavi, Pedri, and even a lot of their forward players. Pretty good players. Someone like Ferran Torres. He's probably underwhelmed a bit at Barca, should be told, but quality player. Ansu Fati, love that boy. Really love that boy. His injuries have kind of derailed him a tad, but a lot of talent in that Spain squad, particularly the midfield. Rodri, don't forget, another one who's done really well. So I think they do have the talent, and they would be underrated dark horses. If you ask me.
They are in a pretty tough group. Germany, Spain, in the same.
That is the group of.
That's actually I may say a tough group, but the group of death for me is Group H.
Yeah, Group H is 100% the group of death.
Portugal, Uruguay, Ghana, South Korea.
Exactly. That's four teams who are giants of their respective continents.
Yes.
But who haven't done it. But
and remember, Uruguay dumped Portugal out in the 2018 round of 16.
Yeah.
Not a good side, and Suarez and Cavani yet again for one last time.
I mean, Uruguay, they are really also coming to an end of a golden generation of players. If you look at the likes of, Cavani is playing in La Liga now. Suarez was basically playing in the Uruguayan league.
Yes.
That's how bad his decline has been in recent times. Even for them, it's very much a last dance, because they do have some young talent coming through, sure, but generally speaking, it's been very reliant on these few players. Yep. So, of course, I think the one player, if you're a Liverpool fan, who you'd obviously say can fill that void, Darwin Núñez.
Yes.
Make your own survival of the fittest jokes there. But, even then, I think this Uruguay team, you're going to be watching it for the veterans, see what they can do. One last bit of magic. But I think that's it from, if you're looking at it from our perspective.
Tomorrow, it will begin, 20th of November, Qatar versus Ecuador.
Let's take a few comments actually before we wrap up.
Yeah,
Can we view the comments?
I think we can view it. I think it's gone down.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Well, Vinay Menon, wellness coach for the Belgium team in FIFA World Cup. Okay.
Pradeep Shivalsan, you're right. They got to be the host because they paid outrageous money. But I think that's actually been the case now for quite a lot of World Cups, all the way back from 2006, really. Because I remember even in 2006 when Germany won it, that's the thing, and Germany got it. Even that year there was allegations of corruption. 2010, definite corruption.
Yep.
And yes, Pradeep, clearly you've been watching, he's been watching FIFA Uncovered on Netflix.
Yes.
All of the things which he's talking about, things which even I got recently familiar with. Manik Sharma, this is an English channel, and please wash your mouth with soap. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
KD Rajput, yes. Ronaldo will most likely be playing his last World Cup.
And beware of Germany.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Germany. You have to watch that team.
Yep.
Mayank Thaplia, thanks for the suggestion. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll actually check that one out.
Yep.
And Pradeep says, what about the Orania? Are you dumping Kane and Vijay Shankar?
Well, but the Netherlands, again, they flatter to deceive every single time.
They are, as I said, as far as FIFA World Cups, Netherlands are always the bridesmaids. And right now, I don't think this team have that great a chance of shaking things up. Then again, I didn't think the 2010 team had it in them to get to the final either.
They have talent. I mean, they have Blind, they have Jelit. They have certain.
Don't also forget they have Virgil van Dijk. Although he's been coming off a pretty poor season.
Yes.
Can we scroll up slightly? Just check a few more comments before we wrap up.
Yep.
Anurag? Just scroll up slightly.
Scroll up if you can. Yep. Oh.
But yeah, Gajendra Singh Rathore, good question. When will India reach? Yeah, Pradeep, kind of agree with you. Tournament does seem to be heading to disaster. Hopefully, the World Cup action.
He's compared Qatar with Argentina of 1978.
That's what I said. Because it was a dictatorial regime. 78, this thing, I talk about a lot of them.
Yep.
There's a lot of instances. Anyway, I think we've gotten a few interesting comments, but I can't take some of them either for legal reasons. So this brings to an end a very, very special edition of the Dugout where we focused on the FIFA World Cup. And don't forget, we will be doing a lot of videos related to the FIFA World Cup. We've done a couple today. Go ahead and check those out too if you're so inclined. Thank you all once again for joining us.
Tomorrow it begins.
The biggest world extravaganza in world sport, aside from the Olympics, of course.
The Olympics is number one. The FIFA World Cup is second in that list. So, okay, Cristiano, Novita.
De Bruyne. Yeah, absolutely. De Bruyne is another one. Class player.
Cricket analysis by RV. Denmark, England.
Denmark, yeah, definitely. Because again, England, man, if it happens, mere taraf se I'll send you mithai. Let's put it that way. Anyway, thank you guys all once again for joining us. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap the bell. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram too. Check us out there. We put out lots of social media content as well. Do check that out as well. And
Yep. Thank you. Bye bye. Vanakkam, and see you. The big event begins tomorrow.